Hello. Maybe you can hear me now. Well, my other system's recording, so I do still have the audio on another computer, but I'm very upset that the meter is telling me that it's producing audio. Then I go to the menu and see that it's not. So um, I'm going to connect with OBS to address that issue because that's messy. There should be a better way of notifying the operator that the audio is not being projected into the project. You should be able to look and see that. So I apologize, but what I was saying was that hold on, I'm getting some echo. So what I was saying is that um here I mute myself. So what I was saying, now that I know it's working, what I was saying is that he's working on the project. As you can see, that's the bike we shot um in the photo box from Amazon. We had a little, it's a little black box on the outside. Then you could put different colors on the inside. Light box. That's what it is. So we used a different light box. We used a light box. He set the bike in there. The bike is like actually bigger than I thought it was going to be from the online photos from the bidding site we got it from. And he cut it out from the white backdrop, and then he put that on his own PNG file, and then he cut me out from what you see him doing now from the green screen and put that on his own PNG file, and then he made a new composition and placed them in this project together. And so what you're going to see is his personal choice for removing big chunks of information from an image. So he's just using the magic eraser tool. And let me be clear, you didn't miss anything of any great importance. That's it's okay. Like I said, my system over here is recording my audio, so anything that you missed, I can absolutely bring it back and include it if you're that interested. But what I was saying about this entire project that's happening is that this will be, this is just a part of this is just a segment of a greater project that's going to reveal itself as we move through the holiday season and we move from being lazy from eating into our greater capacities of thinking, especially as January comes around. Like, I don't really like the cold, but let me tell you how I like dressing up. That is the only advantage to me about being in a cold location is having the ability to have sort of a more fashionable, fluid creativity because you got to layer and you got to stay warm, but you also have to undress those layers and still stay warm, but still be cute, So I like going into colder places just for the outfits. Like I love trench coats. I love leather trench coats. I love this the trench coat in this photograph, which we found in the basement in the laundry room, hanging up. And I was going through. I'm sorting. I'm managing multiple properties, assisting my parents as they get older. They have less time and energy to take up for the responsibilities that they want to, while at the same time wanting to know what they're going to do in their retirement. So what I'm doing is providing the assistance as a consultant, but also as a creative person, and just saying you don't have to do all that thinking. I will create the business plan for you. I will create the guide, the manual, the structure, the workflow. I will create the graphic images. I will create the photographic, detail. I would do all of that because it means that much to me. And I've always been doing that. And that was something that I was saying while the audio was muted, was that as a youth, I was born into the family business. Um, and they've recorded hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours and edited hundreds and hundreds of hours of weddings, of club videos, not like club but like group, club, like the van club, which is actually the motor van club was actually one of those clients. They recorded parties. They recorded, of course, home videos. We shot creative home videos, not just shooting like memories, but had putting up a green screen in the kitchen and taking my red power wheels and setting it up on some blocks so that we could rock it a little bit. So when we overlaid it in the image in the 90s, you could get that motion and rocket and motion and rocket. And so there was a video where of course, O.J. Simpson was a hot topic, so he had a cutout of O.J., he had a cutout of a car, and he had a road, and he animated the entire thing. And I'm sitting here now, I'm older, I'm thinking, where did he even get these layers from? I understand now, you can just go on Google, voila. But in the 90s when we didn't really have these big libraries, you know, and you had to really do all the work yourself. You had the analog digital editors. You know, when you did a transition, you had to actually move the stick, the joystick very fine. You had to actually look at time codes. You had to really pay attention. While now, guerrilla editing on these programs is a lot easier and a lot faster. So that's what I really try to bring my expertise to my communities. And another note that I was mentioning is that my father, though he taught me video, something I started to do was not just be a camera operator. You know, first I was just assisting. I would help pack. I would help, you know, make sure everything was wrapped up and in the bags. And then later on, I wanted to expand my capacities. And I remember the tripod. We still have those original Manfrotto tripods, I believe they are. And I couldn't even pick them up. I had to ask my father or my mother, "Can you please move this so I can get this shot?" And they were like, "What do you mean?" But I was, instead of being 6'3" or 5'9" or something, I'm like, who knows, like barely 5 feet tall. I have a different eye to the stage. And what I'm really thinking about was when we were shooting fashion shows for someone in the local DMV area who I'm pretty sure everyone knows. I'm not going to say their professional name, but I will say Jaguar. That's all I'm going to say. Um, and that person actually wanted me to model for him, but I had a bad vibe and I said no. And then later on, it was found out some interesting information, but that's irrelevant. That's just a little bit of historical context. Um, oh yeah, I remember Frenchie Davis. We recorded her audition video for American Idol, and when I remembered that, I said, "Who was this beautiful, tall, robust of a personality woman who had pipes and could blow?" I was like, "Who was that?" I remember we were recording something for a show, and he said, "Oh, Frenchie Davis," and I was like, yes. I went on Google and I looked. I said, "Yo, yeah, we recorded Frenchie Davis when she was in the DMV and was just trying to make her break into the industry, as far as going through American Idol." But I just remember when she was singing, there was somebody doing the typical thing where they have no awareness of others and anything around them, and they just walk in front of the camera, standing in front of the camera. But this time, instead of people just ignoring it and going about their business, they were adamant. Like, and you added alcohol into it, right? You talking about a black woman's success in the area, making it big. We was like, "Get out the way!" Everybody was like, "No, get this man out the way," because he kept stepping in front of the camera. And I remember being the digital camera operator because I was a little quicker in adopting sort of the newer technologies and methods. We made mistakes, but that was literally our first shoot with that digital camera. But she did eventually. She obviously went on to audition at American Idol, and unfortunately was subsequently booted from the show for some risque photographs. And I'm just thinking, this woman has had to survive. You have people on your team, forefront and background, who have done far worse things. Let's be honest. So that happened, but I still believe in her success and her destiny. So I was interested to see that she became later on an LGBT activist, and that's why I'm going to stop that story. But just saying, like, we have a history, we have a lot of connections, and I'm taking the director to follow up on some of those connections while also creating new ones and re-looping some of the connections I've made in my history and bringing them all together, so people can understand the greater work that I have been aspiring to, because I am a very, very, very long-term thinker, and I almost see my life in the terms of a video timeline, and sometimes in 3D space. So when I look over my life, I don't just see all the details. I see them in an actual place, and I dream in timelines. I dream in 3D editing components. I remember there was an article about a young person who dreamed in code. I dream in editing. And so what you see here now, he done cut me out. If you're paying attention, he done cut me out. He done cut the bike out. He now has a new um he has a new composition going on. This is the third one now, but this is the second one with a new um cutout of the bike and a new angle, and a new pose and all those things. So he uses actual measurements. He does math. My father is one of those people. I just go by eye. I go by feeling. I go by instinct. I'm an intuitive person. My father goes by the facts, the data, the things you can measure, the things you can see. And he used measuring tape and all these things to guide me along how to sit, where to position myself, where to put my hand. But I also said if I don't place it correctly, this is what you can do in the software. So we're collaborating, and I'm letting him do what he wants to do in the project, and then later on I'll go and add some things. But like I said, the funny part is that he did what I was thinking, even better than what I was going to do in the short amount of time that he's done it. So he might think that he's not at a level which should be applauded, but he absolutely is, and it doesn't take too much time for him to become comfortable. It's just he's not thinking about the logistics. I'm thinking about the logistics of the greater picture. The greater project, the greater result. But he is able to piece together things that I never would have imagined. Like I never would have thought about shooting, model scale like bicycles and objects in a light box and then shooting myself, and I never would have thought about it. But then when I saw him doing it, and he created a video where he reached into a model car, turned on the radio, and sat next to it with an amp and guitar and just played in this abundantly large white space. And I'm sitting there going, I can think like that, but even with as much as I know about compositing and editing, I have difficulty putting together those types of stories. But now that I know someone on my team has that capacity, I feel that much richer. And there's so much that he doesn't know that I do and that I am capable of. But the more I teach him, the more I can walk away from different projects and things, because he is able to, as you can see, handle himself. So we both spend our time watching tutorials. We both spend our time. I make my own tutorials to myself, because we do a lot of different types of editing. Video, photo. I draw. I do composites of all those things, put them together. I do broadcasting. I'm working on all these things, and I'm improving my capacity all the time. But if anyone asks how they can do something of a lesser, with less components, then I can absolutely transmit that information to them in a package that is understandable and meets their needs and requirements, right? Because some people are visual learners, and some people are linguistic learners, and some people they learn through demonstration, and some people learn from doing all of it at one time. So I really focus in on what the person's capacity is. But I did complain earlier. Get a laptop. Get a desktop. Stop using your mobile device for everything. There's websites you would never see in a correct way. There are things you will never experience in a greater capacity with a broader mind, about what you can experience, because you're limiting yourself to this thing smaller than your hand. Well, my hand's not that large, but some things are just viewed differently from a tablet to a laptop to a phone, or even on a TV monitor. We hook up our stuff to TVs all the time just to see it differently. Like back in the day, if you was making a CD and you ain't have a professional, system, what you do, you burnt that CD and you went out in the car, because that's where people was gonna play it. You went out in your car and you played your music in the car and you reviewed it and you go, hey, what you think about that? What about, you would really consult with your community to figure out how to get it to meet what they would like. So eventually we're going to get him up here and talking about his process, because like I said, later on this is going to be a part of a much larger composite. And right now we have a bit of a conundrum. We didn't think about it at the time. We didn't think about the logistics, but because the image is a bit dark, some of the graphic qualities are a bit faded, and it's hard to make out some of the components in my dress here, my coat and my shoes and my pants. He's trying to remove the stool that I'm sitting on with the stamp tool. Now, I painted it red. It was just a basic like $15 stool from Walmart, but I painted it red because I want to do a hot seat. But I'm thinking, dang, maybe we should get another one and paint that one green or blue too, so we can just go ahead and color code it out instead of having to go and do all this fine tuning. I have advised him that there are other ways to do little edits and cuts like that, but he is also using Photoshop Elements, and I'm not familiar with Photoshop Elements. I use Photoshop CS 5 or 6. I don't even know, don't ask, but I use a CS Photoshop before the cloud. They robbing y'all with these cloud services. I'm just telling you. They getting their value out of the experience. Now, I understand why some of the things are really good about the cloud, but I'm also a person where I like to have a physical CD. They made this computer here without a CD drive. Do you know how upset I was when I went to go put in a DVD and I wanted to lay down and I went, let me go get my Bluetooth player, attach it via USB, and and do all this stuff. That really ticked me off. So I haven't let go of my other system, which does have a CD player, because I still have older applications that I like to use. I don't care if it saves space. I need CDs to be readable. Like I have The Sims. I prefer to have a CD version of The Sims instead of always needing an internet connection, always needing to have a code or a password or all this information just to play a game that I bought. I don't want you telling me I can't do something after I done paid for it. I don't like that. I don't like you taking away from me what you want to take away from me because maybe the country had some copyright issues or some agreement issues. You're not going to play me. And I feel like these cloud services are too new in their application, such as a lot of the technology. Things are constantly changing. So I'm not really interested in the technological instability that we're experiencing right now. I've never seen so much where they say, "Oh, we're cutting this phone off. We're going to discontinue this phone. We're going to discontinue that. We're going to kill your battery from afar." I'm not used to that type of level of control from companies and from external sources after I done paid for the property, for the license to use it to, I don't like that type of level of manipulation. But getting back to the topic here, my mouse went to sleep. So and I'm going to turn my camera off. He is still at it. He is now doing another composition. It's getting late. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I can't believe he's still doing this. So I apologize, but I need to monitor this for a second. Why am I doing it here? Oh, okay. No, I don't need to do that. Okay, it's all good. But just let me know if anything's out of place, if anything's distracting, because like I said, I'm still learning, I'm still practicing, I'm still bringing all the pieces that I've been studying together. I'm still creating my manuals and guides so that when I meet other artists who want to sort of have the power but don't have the financial power to do certain projects, they can say, well, I have a computer. Zay told me what to do. Let's just do it. I've trained up people since the time I was born. Again, I was born into creating technology, creating art and doing digital designs. Because something I was saying was that from the video work that my parents did in their company, from just packing bags, I also became a camera operator. And from being a camera operator, I was being given the opportunity to make decisions when it came to the actual video editing. And from there, I actually started editing some of the pieces myself, and then submitting them to my father, who was the head of editing, who he also taught my mother how to edit with the analog products back in those times. Which we still have some of those things, just because it's so Jurassic, you can't get rid of it. I want my old Tecmo back, but that's another story. But I went from that to saying, well, we have a 3D program, why not get a photo program too? So I researched different graphic products in the store. We went to Best Buy, and he said, well, what do you think we should get? And I said, well, based on the system hardware we have and the requirements, this is saying we're going to need to update the computer. So we learned to install graphics cards and to maintain, quality control, because we're still providing work to clients. So we can't really stray too much, but we're also going from VHS to Super VHS to DVDs. And through that change, I was at first creating sticker designs for the VHS, and then I began creating designs for the CDs. I began creating the box designs for the VHS and the DVD, depending on what the client wanted. Because just because DVDs were out doesn't mean everyone had already acclimated, right? Like everyone doesn't have Blu-ray, despite the fact that it's been out for more than like 4 or 5 years now, right? So from there, I just sort of evolved my abilities, and I've always lent my qualities to my community. And I think it's important that we share with one another and we bridge the gap. That I'm just going to say it, that people who believe in supremacy don't want us to have opportunities, and they will literally create tutorials that will confuse you, and they will literally put tabs on the internet that are incorrect just to keep pushing you the wrong way. It's not that they can't teach things to a better quality, but also I'm going to say they're not us. I don't care. I said it. Those are biological differences. I ain't talking about how you feel about it. That's just information you can find. But when you only listen to a certain type of doctors who only share a certain type of heritage and lineage and history and goal, then you start to miss out on the relevant facts about yourself, you start to miss out on the celebration of those things versus them saying, "Oh, these people are different. It's wrong. Oh, there's something wrong with them." You know, like we die of different diseases at different rates. We typically sit up faster as children. The children typically have greater eye contact, greater muscular control, greater comprehension and understanding, greater empathy at younger ages. That's You can go down to the science and look at actual studies from multiple cultures saying the same thing. Yet they keep trying to make Egyptians look like what? That 255 value background right there. Okay, I'm not messing with y'all. I don't like people who lie. And I don't like people who like to avoid the truth and distort things for their own sense of reality. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it. The truth ain't comfortable with it. I don't like when you try to make it systematic. You know, like some countries that are going through things right now where people rewriting history. It's wrong and it's messed up. Somebody else is telling the world who you are, and you didn't even know that they were doing that, and they don't think there's nothing wrong with it. To sit there and allow you, to say, "Oh wow, these people sure do mature fast." Oh well, then they're criminals. They know what they're doing. It's like, but they also put you in a situation of being trapped. And I understand it as a black person. I understand it as an LGBT person. I understand it as a non-conforming person in a lot of ways. But I also do respect a lot of traditions. But I also respect the fact that the times are changing. It's a different type of world. There's still that spiritual war there, but there's still another type of war that's occurring. I think A, war of narcissists versus true empaths, and B, the war of truth tellers versus people who like to hide behind controversy, and see the war of adversity of just living on Earth in general. Things are going to get really different. They have been for a long time, but now it's not going to be a race issue. It is going to be a class issue, but we have to understand what contains if class was a folder or a box, what goes in that box that makes up the idea or the entity that is called class, right? And that can change. All these terms are just adjectives. They're not solid things. Like this phone is right here, but what is class? And how do you know who has it? Who has access to it? Is it just a perception? What is, living like royalty? But there are some very distinct differences. But I also recognize a lot of that is how you navigate and what you choose to tolerate and what you don't. And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable if you want to be royalty. It's not like you just sit up there, "I'm a king." Do you understand being a king has a lot of responsibility, and you must also be a balanced male. And I'm just telling y'all motherfuckers a mess. How the fuck you a king and you don't listen to your people? How you a king and you don't feed nobody? How you a king and you ain't never tucked nobody in the bed? Being a king don't mean people serve you. The people are serving you because you are doing a service for them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't get people buying at your feet for nothing. Now, you can be a dictator who calls himself a king, but those are two different things. And a lot of times, I'm going to just say, y'all all just dictating, just swinging dick around and calling yourself a king. That don't make no sense. You got to do a little more than that. You got to earn it. You got to deserve it. But he's really getting into, like, the nitty-gritty right now. He's getting into the small stuff right now. But once he's done, and he's going to zoom out after he's finished sort of smoothing out and stamping this the toe of my Timberland boot. The black Timberlands. They not black Air Forces. They black Timbs. I do have a tan pair, which I wear to actually do work. I ain't out here trying to be cute and fashionable. Look like a daggone fairy with my daggone Timbs laced up all the way to the top in some skinny jeans. I'm sorry, I grew up in a different time period, so when I be seeing this stuff, it don't make no sense to me. I'm like, what is going on? I know I'm different, but like, geez, y'all trying to be different, and it don't make sense. It's one thing to be different, but when you really trying hard to be different, and you look like everybody else, I got some problems with that. There's something weird happening. It's weird. Like everybody a freaking walking commercial now. I ain't feeling it, so I'm turning my cam off. Let me look at it, see if it, yeah, it's gone. Okay. So thank you. Let me move that. Well, that's his screen. You can see his Google now. So how about that? I'm gonna make this. Oh crap. Things happen. That turned left real fast. So you got two Leos in the house. Yeah. You got two Leos in the house. Hence why we like to do this type of stuff. But we're very critical thinkers. We're very attuned with learning and being sound mind if we can. It's not always consistent, but we try. So there you go. Oh, look, now look. Okay. So what he's about to do here now, he's about to show you when you do stuff like this and you have to sort of fake grab things that aren't there. I could have easily just held something in my hand to make it a little realistic when grasping an object, but he's going to try and overlay my hand over that handlebar. Pretty good. This is supposed to be a stay park bicycle, and honestly, I thought I turned my camera off, and for some reason my mouse likes to not show up on the screen. If you understand what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And of course, Mac stuff, it don't want to bring up your Finder and girl, give me. Thank you. Yeah, I want that. That's what I'm looking for, baby. That over there, baby. So my broadcasting app is deciding it don't want to show up right now. It's acting like my dog. Like I don't want to do what you tell me to. He's curled up, beautifully sleeping right now. Okay, look. Give me my app, bro. At least I ain't getting a beach ball. But like I'm getting a little aggravated. Show. How you open it? You ain't got no windows I can find. Come on now, that don't make sense. You. Okay. You really gonna be like this? Okay. I done went to the four corners of my computer, and I can't find my broadcasting app for some reason. Show yourself, fool. Alright, well, I wanted to turn my camera off, but it's not trying to do me. It's not trying to it's not trying to let me live. That's weird. I see the way it looks different. I see it did like some weird distortion. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm not moving the window or doing anything like that. So again, I'm learning things. I'm practicing and apply what I've been practicing. It just sometimes stuff like this happens. But if I quit it, it's gonna mess up the broadcast, I think, and I'm not even gonna try none with Bob. It says desktop on display on what desktop? None. Why would you display on no desktop after I pulled you into this desktop? Like, come on. He was, it's not that serious. I gotta talk out loud to make sure I don't lose my thoughts, so don't take it personal. But you can always engage. We can always chat. Cause I'm about to do a little less talking. I'm gonna try this. Turn this music back on. So I'm gonna unplug these headphones. In there. Plug them in here. So I can monitor it. So I have two microphones in. Whoa, what's happening? What? Stop. What's happening? There's like a 45-second delay on this thing. So I'm doing stuff that I can't immediately experience it. So I apologize if anything you talk to me. By the way, I'm using OBS, Open Broadcasting System. It is available on PC and Mac. Okay, so the music came back. That is an original beat I made. It's called In the Lab Fucking. Why is it doubling on my audio like having issues, obviously. Y'all gotta tell me this stuff, man. You can't have me out here. So, let me close this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. My desktop app, like Google Chrome is not telling me every window that has audio playing. Did it just? It's being weird. 69 minutes ago, favorite number. I'll be back there looking at himself. He's taking a nap. I try not to say his name because he just take off 100 as soon as he get his name in called. We to be think I'm talking about it. So he now has a clean cutout. And I see he has put my hand on a separate layer. You see it? Yeah. He has my hand on a separate layer. If you look here where I'm circling the mouse. Can I zoom in just a little? Oh, okay. So if you can see here, he was tired of trying to do the usual erase and stuff. So he just cut my hand out. And because it's foreshortening from the perspective of the camera, which we shot from on a Nikon, I think the 3300 with a 70 to 210 millimeter Nikkor lens, both the bike and myself. So you see he has a little cutout here. I'm extra close, so it's gonna look messy, but no one's gonna be that close. He's gonna eventually fix all this when he wants to. So he just cut my hand out and then placed it on a separate layer and placed it over top the handlebar, but also he erased this along this line. So now he's just cleaning it up as per his own liking. And I don't know why the screen does that little smear thing. I really can't. Well, maybe because I have multiple desktops. That might be the issue, and it's sort of bleeding into the other desktop. So let's try this again. I'm monitoring it on another computer. So again, like I said, let me know if there's any difficulties. Let me know if there's anything that's charming about it. I'm working out the kinks right now, and I'm not afraid to broadcast that because honestly, y'all are my best team for reviewing, and I like to not always have everything saved just on my hard drive because I don't want to only be at home when I want to review my files, you know. So what helped me model for this shoot, and you'll see it later in another reproduction of all of this that's happening right before your eyes, but also the things that were behind the scenes, even further behind the scenes, is that, oops, oh, this song started. Is that, what the heck is happening? Oh, why? I'm going to show you the process we went through setting up the studio we have set up already, and also what we did to sort of make all these pieces come together the way that you're seeing now. I even have a camera recording myself on another station what's happening right here, right now. You're going to see a big difference from what you're seeing here now to the final product once it becomes another live broadcast and publication. So while he's doing that, I'm going to stress my computer out some more. No, I'm not going to do that right now, but while he's doing that, I'm going to start doing my own little bit of editing and art to accompany some of the things he's doing over here down there on his desktop. If you're wondering, I'm talking to my other camera. Like I said, I have another camera I'm operating in the background that's recording all of this for documentation purposes and also for later publications. So what is he doing here now? Okay, it looks like a DC street, baby. You know what's funny is we have our own photographs that we can use for stock, and it's just so much faster and easier right now with our current setup to just go to Google and pull up images, but eventually I'm going to get a server and a network set up to where we can just reference all the files we have. I'm going to organize everything, tag everything, label, do all that. I like doing those type of sort of organizational work. So that's why I really enjoy consulting, because you get to go into spaces and tell people what to do, but it's all for you. That was a Janet reference. I had to drop it. Who's calling? That phone call. I'm gonna mute my speaker now. I'll take this all the way at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I'll see y'all later. I'm gonna let him do his thing. Y'all, it's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. About a dope beat, step two. Hey, look, this has been fun. I was actually downstairs helping him with some of the edits, so when you saw the brightness and contrast change, and you saw the additional adjustment layers, the two adjustment layers at the top that have two masks on. The adjustment layers at the top, which are the two light looking things with the gray. I added those layers to sort of just bring some energy, some vibe to the photograph. You know, I think he did a really good job. He directed me on how to pose. He directed me on what to wear. He directed me on what, where to place my body in order to match the bicycle for the steampunk added for the other mechanical bicycle thing that you saw. But he said, wow, I just want to add a motorcycle because it looks like futuristic Jetsons. In the background, but this is, I guess, an image he found on Google. But he did at some point have a DC street edit. He's just doing a lot of different things, and like I was saying, this is all just a test. He's just experimenting. I'm experimenting, but it's more than just experimentation. This is, for real what we do, and I want to make sure that when he retires, and when my parents, both my parents retire, which is not going to be too long, I want to make sure that they understand that this is absolutely the time to pursue their creativity, especially within the demographic which they assume. So it'll be more endearing for them to have these skills and to be able to integrate themselves into the technological advancements which are occurring versus me doing it. I have to move on to other avenues now. I've had a really substantial, life of creativity, and I appreciate and I love it, and I'm always going to share, but there are other things that I would like to move on to, but I'm doing all this work to sort of create a program and a system which I'll teach them how to value, I'll show and guide them, and also being mindful of what they want to do. But I understand when you're educating people or you're assisting people, you sometimes have to pull them even if they're on crutches, and it's okay. We can't always train people with this sensitivity. Like I've seen people with cerebral palsy, being trained in gyms, and everybody has something to say, but this person has made a decision, and they are consenting to that decision because they want to change their life. And while it may not look perfect to you, it is perfect in their image. It is perfect for their path, and that is where I'm looking at it from that. My parents might not have, some of the things which others might think they will need, but they have their own destiny, and they have their own job to do. Puppy is so adorable. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I appreciate, the input in the front of and behind the scenes. But I just want to leave this live with something really freaking adorable right quick. I'm going to hook up this external camera so that you can see what I just looked over at and was like laughing about. So let me add another camera to this. If it would let me show you, this is annoying. Like, where's my freaking... Sometimes this camera doesn't want to respond for some reason. I want to show you, but I don't want to turn my whole computer on because I might disconnect some cables. It's not that one, but I want... Why does it start all that stuff? That's so annoying. What is happening with this thing? I love this Logitech camera. Sometimes, for whatever reason, my computer doesn't want to recognize it on the first go. It always takes that second try. I didn't want black and white. Yeah, again, like this is just doing stuff before we head to the holidays. So, what you're looking at is the secondary camera I have. I want you to see this. Yes, there's a couch on the side. Flip, because it needs to go. Stop twisting it. Like, bro, I really don't like when things frustrate me. But who likes being frustrated? Look at this man. He's just cute. Look at Cannon. Stay right there, though. Look at him. Oh, man. Look at him. He just curled up in my little leather chair like, daddy, daddy. Oh, my gosh. What is... Why would I ever... Here you go. I'm sorry. It's just I couldn't avoid it, man. It's too cute, man. He's too cute, man. But like I was saying, I'm wrapping it up. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to sleep, and I'm gonna get up and eat good. But I need to make sure all the cameras are charged and packed and ready, so when we go to the family function, I'm gonna make sure my printer is fired up because I don't want to come home and have to deal with nothing. I'm gonna bring my laptop and bring my printer, bring my camera, and I'm gonna just be hooked up right then and there. And they can have whatever they want from it, but I don't want to have to come home and deal with nothing. Look, if you want pictures, you better get them from me on the spot. You know, I can transfer them to you Wi-Fi, Bluetooth from the phone. I can do it on the computer, whatever. But you need to tell me, and you need to tell me on the spot because the thing I'm not going to do, I got to keep going. Like I said, this is something that's not really in my destiny as far as, you know, maintaining my capacity in these operations. And, oh, look, this is a photograph he took of a museum himself, I think on a 10 to 20 Nikon, 10 to 20 millimeter Nikon lens indoors. But that also could have been the wide angle lens zoomed in to about 20 millimeters of the wide angle. That's what I was saying. I mean, that also could have been a 35 millimeter, but I'm not thinking it's the 35 because nothing's distorted, greatly in the image. So, and the scale of that building is really large, but that's another story about his history, our history, working job sites and having the privilege to being on rooftops and being in the places that a lot of people sort of bag on me about not going to DC. You can't afford to come in here. You ain't got no money. I'm like, bro, I was in this building when it was rubble, and I was in this building when it was being built. I was in this building with, like, don't bother me, bro. It don't matter. But let's see what he doing right quick. He about to do something. Now I was about to go, but here he is been engaging again with whatever he got going on. So I'm about to just I was about to go to sleep, but I want to know what he about to do. As I was saying, he was sourcing images off of Google for some of the edits, and I said, well, we do have like an extensive catalog of our own images, and clearly he likes this particular pose. We have a bunch of other images that and photographs that he took of me, but he obviously really enjoys this one, and I like it too for the space, the amount of space I'm taking up, but also the the counterbalance of like my hand in the pocket hand here. My head is kind of so I do like the image too. So we're going to see what he's going to do. The plane isn't exactly right, but we're going to see, or I'm going to see at least, if he remembers the transform tool trick I told him for sort of changing some of the angle and distortion of the subject, which is in this case me. So Leo, I'm still learning. I got a poster board over there. Man, Kenny, you need to go to sleep. But he's like, why don't you? You see, he looks tired. Look at him. Yeah, he's tired. But he should be tired. Alright. Alright, Kenny, you gotta go. Let me put you you in bed soon. I need to update my haircut. I did have it like literally shaved bald on the side, and I like it because when it grows back, it just fades in. But yeah, I looked at some home videos. My hairline always been like that, bro. It's always been like that. So I've been messing with haircuts. I did this jank crooked on purpose, just cause I don't like to do. I had a video. I said I like asymmetrical shit, you know. But let me transition out of there. Good night, boy. Everybody say good night to the boy. Um, y'all starting to see the introduction of I think what is his fourth or fifth composition, but now using all original sub contents right now. Now, if he adds anything, then don't take me at my word for saying it was all original. But these elements here, this is the original photography and of the building and original photography of myself in the foreground. He's adding in a shadow, I think it looks like is what he's doing. It's like a play-by-play of Photoshop. Play-by-play Photoshop, like watching the process, man. It's interesting to me because he'll bust out work over and over and over and over again. I'm like, how are you doing that? And I saw that he has some advantages to Photoshop elements is having lesser distractions, you know, and just being able to really like zone in. But also, it's a less. It's not as heavy. It's a little heavier on my computer using full Photoshop, but he knows what he's doing. He's a really good, excellent thinker. So that's where his success comes in. He knows how to think about what he's doing. And I tell him sometimes I don't know how to think about processing the thing where he's shooting the car himself and then making an animated video of him opening and closing the door and reaching his hand in, turning on the radio. Like that was just amazing to me. So let's see. I'm about to say that must have been an accident. I don't know what he's doing. But you guys, I actually do have to go to sleep. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I at least no matter when I go to sleep, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I usually don't really sleep. I just lay there. So I'm gonna go lay in bed and hope I get some real good shut eye. Like yesterday, I think I had blackout sleep, and I was so happy. Like I didn't dream. Oh my god. Every time I be exhausted dreaming, I be like tired waking up dreaming. My dreams be like doing too much, but I appreciate y'all, but I gotta find this stream so I can shut it down. Hope that is not the stream, obviously. Like I said, thank y'all for being here. Peace out. Maybe about 10 minutes before I figure out how to shut this thing off without the magic mic mouse. Magic Mac mouse. Again. Next time you see us, hopefully we'll be even more fancy.